The following is an interview between myself, Gray Jabez, and the founder of Alex Lab, Dr. Chiente Hsu. She is a quant, a PhD, and she has worked in the traditional finance at a large scale, at a higher level. And now she is a co-founder of Alex, which is a DEX on Bitcoin, or a decentralized exchange. And in this interview, you will learn a little bit more about decentralized finance from someone who is coming from the traditional finance and who has built a project from the bottom up since about 3 years ago. And it's doing very well. They currently have a market cap of $250 million. So it's no joke. She's a big deal. And I hope that you learn from this conversation about DeFi, how it's thought out, what it's meant to do, how it's thought out, what are the risks, what are the opportunities, and what you can actually do with it. And also a contrast between DeFi and the traditional finance system, the traditional financial system. Another thing that you also, I hope you get out from this is to learn more about layer 2s, blockchains, especially when it comes to Bitcoin, because these were concepts that were mostly related to Ethereum. But now we have seen a transformation coming over to Bitcoin with several layer 2s such as Stacks Network, which is what made it possible for projects like Alex Lab to exist. So I hope you enjoy it. And after you learn it, we have a few lessons in the Web3 masterclass at Crypto University, where you can learn how to interact with this Bitcoin DeFi, which is the future of the world. Currently, it works. So after you watch, hopefully you find some inspiration to go out there and experiment with these tools. And another thing that I find really interesting about Dr. CH is that she is, their team at Alex is a female founded team. Both of the co-founders are female, they're mothers, which is really, really unique in this space. And I think you guys will find it interesting. So enjoy and leave comments and share it with others as well, and recommend it to other students if you're on Crypto University. See you guys at the end. We're now live, we're recording. So welcome to Crypto Hustle and Crypto University. Excited to having you on the show after meeting up in Singapore, of all places. Oh, it was in Denver, Colorado.
Denver, you are well traveled.
All right, cool. So you're the co-founder of Alex, is the reason why you're here, and it's the reason why we basically bumped into each other in Denver, Colorado. I want to start with, how is the bull market treating you guys overall? I think that's the most interesting part to start with.
Obviously, we have survived the winter. So now, the overall sentiment is better. The team is well funded. We feel, much more optimistic. But I think, we started just 3 years ago, so we have seen the all-time high of 69K of Bitcoin. And then, the winter hit. We built throughout the winter. I'd say the team is much more robust. We are not, hyping or getting out of our head. We have a very, very clear roadmap of where we want to be this week, this month, this quarter, this year, in 5 years. And we stick very, very, closely to our script. Of course, crypto, the innovation is exponential. So we do have to pivot. But I'll say the team is very seasoned in building Bitcoin DeFi. So bull or bear, we stick to our script to build.
Awesome. So for those of you guys listening, you might want to have the context of what the project we're talking about here. She's coming from Alex. She's the co-founder of Alex. Alex is basically DeFi on Bitcoin. If you follow me, you know I've been very bullish since 2023 with ordinals and BRC20 tokens and everything like that. So Alex is one of the projects that I have said repeatedly on this channel that I'm bullish on because it's Bitcoin on DeFi and it's on stacks. And to a lot of you guys that have been on this channel for a while, we've been bullish on stacks for years now. So Alex was it's actually one of the most functional or usable dApps on stacks. But I want to hear a little bit more of, I mean, why has it taken this long for DeFi to come to Bitcoin? And also for someone who is just listening to this right now, what does it mean to say Bitcoin DeFi? What does that really mean and why is it a big deal?
All right, so number one, Bitcoin itself is not a smart contract layer, right? So I think most people by now, we understand that, but maybe for your listener, the Ethereum is a smart contract layer, but Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin, most decentralized chain with a great track record, but the script is very, very, I would say, rigid, inflexible, and rightly so. For finance in particular, you want to do some, other than send and receive, for example, you want to keep the balance right. You want to do something a little bit more fancy. You do need smart contract layer. So zoom out where we came from, the team, where we came from and our background. We all came from tradfi. So we were all Wall Street quants and we all fell in love with blockchain technology and we decided to build out financial services on Bitcoin. The reason why we chose Bitcoin obviously is also because of its track record in decentralization, but also the capital behind Bitcoin is the largest. When we started, shy of 3 years ago, we looked around and there were not that many layer 2 that enabling smart contract on Bitcoin. What it means is that your transaction will be settled back to the Bitcoin mainchain. You had, I would say, Lightning, you had RSK, and you had Stacks. So ultimately, we chose Stacks because of its, it's a very interesting proof of transfer mechanism that your reader can, I'm sure you talk about that in your previous educational material. But we decided to build on Stacks because of its smart contract capability. So we mainly launched about, let's say January 18, 2022. It was a while ago. And there are a few reasons why it took so long. Number one is that, DeFi users as well as builders are very used to Ethereum. From the ground, the language solidity is much easier to learn compared with the Bitcoin, which is Rust-based. And Stacks, for example, is Clarity-based, very kind of Lisp type of languages. So you don't have really that many builders really willing to jump the hoop to learn this new language. But also number two, if you think about from there, you just don't have that much infra around you from a builder point of view. Also, the capital mainly are or were on the Ethereum side. But obviously, you and I both experienced the innovation of ordinals. Suddenly, people realize that with a very, very, very simple twist, you can, issue or let's say inscribe assets on Bitcoin directly. That's where the DRC20 came from, but also, upcoming Room, for example, and also the current ARC20. So suddenly you have this excitement from the NFT crowd that you can inscribe directly on Bitcoin, the ordinals, but you also have those DeFi crowd that understanding that you can inscribe or issue Bitcoin assets directly on Bitcoin. So that's fine, but then what's next, right? If you want to do lend borrow, you want to do AMM, you still need a smart contract layer. So I think that's where Alex, by the way, Alex stands for Automated Liquidity Exchange. And that's where we start to get the attraction is that we were there already trying to build out Bitcoin DeFi via Stacks. But suddenly we are in the intersection of this, thriving, innovative Bitcoin L1s and Bitcoin L2. So you can think of as a city, almost like we have the first mover advantage. sitting right in the intersection of the very, exciting Bitcoin L1 as well as the emerging Bitcoin L2s. So that's a very long answer to your short question.
But I think it brings a lot more clarity to what we're talking about. So to just summarize for somebody listening to this, what Alex is an exchange on Bitcoin blockchain, but it utilizes another blockchain called a layer 2, and that is known as stacks in this context. What it does allow you to do is basically convert Bitcoin with other assets that are within this Bitcoin ecosystem. So it can be Alex has a token, it's called Alex. So instead of you waiting to sign up for an exchange and creating an account and using a centralized exchange, you can basically just go on Alex, connect your Bitcoin wallet on Alex, and you can swap Bitcoin for Alex or Bitcoin for other tokens, or it can be a stable coin eventually. And all this is done on chain without any sort of a centralized party in between, similar to what Uniswap does in the Ethereum ecosystem. And this, if you, 3 years ago, you would have thought that this, 5 years, let's go back 5 years ago. It was almost like we accepted as a community that DeFi is not a Bitcoin thing anymore, right? It's just Ethereum. Bitcoin is just for money, for sending and receiving. But now it seems like the paradigm is shifting and the liquidity is being absorbed from Ethereum and other chains back to Bitcoin, NFTs being one of it as well. Like, the daily volumes on NFTs now is largely happening within the Ordinal space. So you guys, you launched Alex. You probably were convinced that this might happen one day, but I'm sure the conviction 3 years ago was lesser than what it is now. After you launched, were you surprised by the traction? How long did it take for you to actually be like, oh, actually, this is happening and we have users and TVL is increasing?
So it really started, I would say the attention and the attraction started a year ago, right? A little bit more than a year ago because of the ordinal theory. And then coming back to Alex, because in crypto, I always like to say that innovation is so exponential. You just know when, which day it will hit you, right? Because the whole industry, the crypto industry, with the open source, with the decomposability, the tech itself is very, very quickly disseminated to other chains, other kind of use cases. That's why it makes this sector so exciting. And you are right, in the very beginning, we started with really just a few very simple DeFi primitives, or if you want to say, crypto finance, what are the use cases, right? So you think about it's just like traditional finance. You have a primary market, you have a secondary market for asset exchange, asset swap. Primary market is like IPO, right? In TradFi, but in DeFi is Launchpad. Secondary market in TradFi, you have the exchanges, centralized exchanges. In DeFi, you have decentralized exchanges such as DEX, AMM, or order book. So we really started 3 years ago with those DeFi primitives on stacks, but because of ordinals, Ordinal is really also still just in its infancy, right? You can inscribe, but there are a lot of infras that are still lacking or were still lacking. So we were really forced in the positive tone, to say, okay, if people want to utilize BRC20 as a token standard, what do we need to make it safe or more secure for the users? So we really were, I would say, pivoted to build the infras ourselves for those Bitcoin derivatives or L1 assets. So we built out, for example, the first bridge between Ethereum and Bitcoin, right? So there was no bridge, right? So we were the one who first built out this bridge, and then we need to build an oracle in order to verify the transaction or the balances for all these Bitcoin asset, ARC20, BRC20. So I would say the first step is we build the, dApps, the primitives on stacks, like Launchpad, exchanges. Second, because of the ordinals, we start building all the infra that is necessary for the L1 assets. So we build the bridges, we build the oracles. And right now, and when I met you in Denver, we were just discussing about, what's our current focus. The current focus is really to build out a suite of Bitcoin assets, yielding assets. Why? Because ultimately, the goal is to make Bitcoin a productive asset. You hold the Bitcoin, but you don't just want to hold in your wallet and then sit there. You want to use it. Just like your dollar, you want to use it. In order to use it, you need to have the desire to want to invest in different assets, from the least risky ones, such as stablecoin, to the more risky ones, such as emergent project that come into our launchpad. So there's a whole curve of assets, Bitcoin assets, that we are focusing on this year. So think about us as three categories, right? DeFi primitives, exchanges, as you say, Uniswap on Bitcoin, infras, bridge, oracles, and then assets such as yielding product, stable coins, etc. So I would say that summarizes Alex, and I like to call it the finance layer. We are a layer. We don't have our own, chain. We utilize L2s as well as L1s, but itself is almost like a finance layer because we provide the liquidity, we provide the asset, and we provide the infra, the financial infra.
Amazing. So I want to shift the conversation about the possibilities of Bitcoin DeFi, right? In terms of yield farming, providing liquidity, and also the opportunities that are there, because DeFi provides a lot of opportunity for earnings, for yield, and so on and so forth, whether it's on stable coins, Bitcoin, or the tokens themselves. And on Alex, you guys have done a great job of bringing those opportunities together. And it's still early because the liquidity isn't as high as Uniswap. The APYs are usually greater, and so on and so forth, which is natural for a newer AMM. But since I like that you're coming from the traditional financial background, you're a quant yourself, right? You're a PhD. So I need you to do me a favor, because we have a lot of people from the traditional financial background listening. Maybe they haven't been in this space for long enough. If you had to give a masterclass on DeFi within 5 minutes, and you want to teach it to the folks in the traditional finance who want to transition over to the Web3 or decentralized finance, how would you go about it to make them understand using the analogies that they already know from the traditional finance?
Right. DeFi is decentralized finance utilizing blockchain technology. And ultimately what it is for, a few advantages of DeFi vs tradfi. Number one is a blockchain technology. That means that it's much more decentralized, much more transparent. Number two is DeFi, so it's peer-to-peer. So there's no centralized middleman entities in between. And that leads to efficiency. Why? Because, for example, for exchanges, you and I, we exchange assets. There's no middleman. It means that this middleman doesn't need to have any capital or balance sheet to make sure that it can be the middleman. So as simple as that. Right? And that's the beauty of DeFi, is that it's peer-to-peer. You and I don't need a middleman. If we don't need a middleman, it's much cheaper for you and I to transact. And because it uses blockchain technology, it's much more transparent, decentralized. That's really about it, about DeFi. There's nothing like a voodoo or black box about it. Actually, on the contrary, because it's on blockchain, particularly on Bitcoin blockchain, everything is transparent. I like to call it the white box, right? So, whatever you hear about people say about, crypto, all these, these activities that people like to hide, there's nothing you can hide on blockchain. All the transactions are there. So, this is really the technology that we all embrace in, all of us builders here in these sectors is we've all fell in love with what is possible for us to really not just improve, but really revolutionize a lot of services, and in particular the financial services, I would say. So that what I would say, that's less than 5 minutes about DeFi. The use cases that it has been proven so far in terms of DeFi are, like you say, such as Uniswap, right? Exchanges is a very, very elegant way of coming up with a decentralized exchanges with liquidity providers, and you and I can just swap on them. The other use cases, for example, people heard about compound or Aave, right? Lending, borrowing. If you go to tradfi, the credit is really created through lending and borrowing activities, through different entities, but also throughout the time, right? I don't need the capital right now, I save. You, Gray, you need the capital right now, you borrow, right? Throughout the time as well as throughout the region. So I think the use cases are kind of proven much more efficiently that you can build those use cases on blockchain. And that's what we call it DeFi. And there are more and more coming, more use cases are coming.
Amazing. That's a very good breakdown, right? So because you're coming from your product, Alex, the platform that you built is giving the service, to just put it in context to everyone listening. So what DeFi does is that it takes all the processes or the layers involved in a traditional financial transaction and compress them into a smart contract. And this smart contract basically does all the work that someone else within the traditional financial system, several people would have to do, whether it's compliance, checking it can be things like collateral and risk management, all of these things that maybe 5 people would have to do within the traditional finance. It's being handed over to a smart contract, and the smart contract handles basically everything. So the way banks or traditional finance works, it's all about collateral. I take money, I put it into the bank account, and then the bank is able to lend and borrow, make profit on that, and then give me a portion of that. Within DeFi, I go on Alex, on your platform. I will provide liquidity to the platform to allow others to trade on the platform. And the fees that you as a smart contract platform generate, some of it will be shared with me. But in this context, it's global. It doesn't matter where I am in the world. I could be in Dubai, I could be in Japan, in Africa. You don't have, nobody cares which region, no passports to check. It's basically just a global marketplace for finance. Is that a correct characterization?
Yeah, that's I say that's a really, really good summary of what DeFi is. Now, obviously, you cannot replace everything from TradFi with the current DeFi, right? I think, for example, the habit, the trust of institutions or regulations, right? That's something hard to replace. But we are all racing towards, the common goal, right? Is that if you find in finance, you look at, what can be replaced with better technology, with a safer mechanism, right? That's what we are all working towards. And that's what I mean by innovation.
Awesome. So what we have seen in the Ethereum ecosystem, I think, is the best sort of grandchild of DeFi. We have seen Ethereum as layer one, and then layer two came through because of the gas fees and the efficiency of the blockchain. But we have seen growth in Ethereum where billions of dollars are basically in the market at play 24/7. I've been staking, yield farming, providing liquidity for a long time is my strategy for basically my annual income. Actually, for a good amount of my income comes from DeFi for the last few years, right? I trust the process. It's been working and it's getting better as we go. Now, Bitcoin is the most inefficient blockchain out there, right? So that's why probably layer twos are coming through. But what some automated market makers like Uniswap, the leaders on Ethereum, what they've managed to do is to basically deploy on multiple layer twos to make sure they can absorb as much liquidity. Are we expecting, or are we expected to see the same type of evolution in Bitcoin, or it's just going to be Alex is on stacks and it stacks forever?
Well, you were in Denver, right? Bitcoin L2 is the hottest topic. Like how many Bitcoin L2 we met there? I personally met like 10 Bitcoin L2 there. I
Yes.
say this is definitely a thriving sector, and for the right reason, right? When you say Bitcoin is inefficient, I hear what you mean. I think what you mean is that Bitcoin script, Bitcoin chain itself is inflexible, right? You can't change the code, and rightly so. You don't want to change. You want it to be really the money layer, right? Now, but if you want to build finance on top of Bitcoin, you do need Bitcoin L2. There's just no way around it. You need smart contract, like you said. So I would say in Denver, you and I have conversed with different Bitcoin L2s and, really interesting philosophies, how they want to build out the Bitcoin L2. Some of them are, I would say, closer to the Bitcoin, such as, stacks, IGB. They are more closer to Bitcoin. Some of them are closer to Ethereum or EVM world, right? They want to unlock the capital, the community, the users from the Ethereum world. So I say at the moment, if you want to really draw a line, there will be like these two camps. Where we came from is, more on this camp that an L2 that closely tied. When I say tied, it means from the security point of view, closely tied to Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin Magazine had an article that, new definition of Bitcoin L2. I like the definition, basically saying that you are a Bitcoin L2. If something happened on Bitcoin state, something happened on your layer as well. So when Bitcoin forks, your chain should fork as well, right? So obviously stack is one of them. Because I think ultimately what is attractive about Bitcoin is because of its security, its immutability, right? If you just use Bitcoin as an asset, right, you go and put it on the EVM, type of L2, but use it as asset. That's an interesting use case, but your L2 doesn't inherit the security or the characteristic of the Bitcoin chain. So that's my very subjective take. But all of this are exciting, and we welcome all of them. We, as Alex team, we work with at least 10 L2 chains, and they're in either or the camp. They're all exciting, tech-wise. Some are heavier or more interesting than the other use cases as well. But ultimately, I think the role of Alex is really not just to sit on stacks and say, okay, we chose our camp. Because we were the first builder here, we built almost 3 years. What we managed to do, as you pointed out, we managed to have community, liquidity, and assets on Alex. And we want to work with all the L2s. I think I show you on my phone, that you have all these L2s, right, around Alex. That's just from our perspective. We are not very egocentric, just that what we can do, why we can work with all the L2s. We can provide them liquidity, assets, and users, communities. So think about our bridge, which we spun off and call it X-Link, right? We call it cross-chain liquidity network. Through this bridge, through the X-Link, you can really channel all the Bitcoin assets, L1 assets, ARC20, BRC20, issued stablecoin or yielding product to all these L2s. So that's really the goal of having an interesting role to help into this thriving Bitcoin L2 community. And everybody has one goal, is really to build out the Bitcoin economy, to unlock the Bitcoin capital. And I think with this common goal, we are all working together, right? Doesn't matter which part of L2 you are. And then Alex really is in the center of liquidity aggregation.
Amazing. And with that, where do you see then the future of Alex? Let's say 3 to 5 years from now, what do you think it's going to look like in terms of liquidity, user friendliness, who would be using it at the time? And also maybe you can share a little bit about who is currently using Alex at the moment. Looking at your liquidity that's locked on there, the majority of it is coming from who exactly?
So because Bitcoin economy or L2 is still very, very new, the majority of users are grassroots users like you and me, not institutionals. Right. Institutional haven't come here yet. So what interesting statistic I was sharing with people is that we had our launchpad is a multi-chain launchpad. So if let's say Gray, you want to launch a project, you can launch in multiple standard, right? You can launch in BRC20, later you can launch in Room, STIP10, which is stats. You also can launch in ERC20 because, different centralized exchanges, they take different standard. But what this enable project to do is they are much more flexible. They are not stuck in one chain. And there was one really interesting project, GameFi project, that came to launch on Alex. And suddenly we see the surge of the bridging Bitcoin. Right? All the Bitcoin wallet came through Bitcoin as well as through the Binance EVM chain. We suddenly, that project, when the IDO launch, has Rachel was telling me, my co-founder was telling me, there's 80 times oversubscribed. You see all this Bitcoin capital, right, locked in on Alex. And then after the IDO, because in the IDO, usually, the amount raised is, as I mentioned, is a 1/80th of what the capital is supposed to. Many of this Bitcoin capital just left because there's not enough use cases yet on Bitcoin L2. Most Bitcoin L2s that you and I met in Denver, they won't launch in a year time, right? There are only these few right now. So we need to all hurry up. So once, we have enough use cases, enough interesting things for people to do, then those Bitcoin holders, particularly those smaller wallet, right? 70% of Bitcoins are held in wallet that has very small amount of Bitcoin. So we call it we call it grassroots user community. Right? These are not institutional. So I say that's one thing is how can you, this is our challenge as well. How can you get people excited about using your Bitcoin to invest their Bitcoin to do something else? You need to have enough assets, use cases. You need to give people the security. That's why we build the Oracle, making sure that all the on-chain events are verified, all the events are verified on-chain. Right. And you need to give people really good UI UX. So we are all racing toward these three goals. UI UX, you will see a huge improvement. Security, Oracle started as an on-chain index, and now it's become a much bigger thing. The bridge as well. So this is what we will envision Alex in 3 to 5 years, is that you have Bitcoin, you want to save for your kids when they go for their future, tuition, because you want them to go to college, overseas. You save for them your Bitcoin, you can come to Alex, right? You want to invest in emerging projects, you can come to Alex. You want to swap, you can come to Alex. You want to lend and borrow, you can come to Alex. You want to hedge your downside, you can come to Alex. But not just Alex, it's all the project or the really great builder that they partner with Alex. At the moment, I think we partner with at least 20 projects trying to build out this Bitcoin economy really, really fast. I think that's what I can envision about, ultimately Alex's mission is really to build up Bitcoin economy. And why I want to do that? Because we want financial inclusion. Rachel and I started this venture because we are women. We see women, economically, on the average, less fortunate. We came from emerging market. In the US, you are very used to have your credit card, your bank account, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's still so many people, they don't have bank account. And all this is under one story, is financial inclusion, Bitcoin economy, Alex.
Well, it's so strange. How did it happen that you guys are female co-founders in this space? But then you gave it the most male name as possible. Was it
Oh,
by
no,
accident?
Alex is neutral. Alex unisex, right?
Oh yeah, the name is unisex, but it's mostly male, known as Alex, at least on my side of the world. How did that
Right.
happen?
Yeah,
Were
I
you
know quite a few female Alex.
Absolutely. In the UK, I can
Yeah.
imagine there's a lot of
Mm.
Alex females. But how did it happen that you just female founders? Were you like, okay, we want to start a Bitcoin, a man, but female only, no men allowed? Or how did that come
No,
through?
no, no. Yeah. No, I think Rachel and I have very similar background, right? We are, she has a master in math, and then she studied at Goldman and JP Morgan. And I have a PhD in, economics, econometrics, and I started Credit Suisse and then Morgan Stanley. And, traditional finance, particularly those institutions, we both have kids, for example. We understand each other's challenges throughout the life. And we always envision to have a female professional partner that we can share the jobs. Like I need to take my daughter for competition, she can cover me. Alex, her son's name is Alex. Right?
Oh,
That's why we came up with this name.
okay.
Alex stands for automated liquidity exchange. She needs to drive Alex to school. I can cover her. That's always our dream. But we are very, yeah, you're right. We are very unique. I don't think you can find another DeFi project that is co-founded by two female. But we have a very strong CTO, Dr. Chang An. I know him for years. We started at Credit Suisse together. So he is really I would say we call it the chief. He's a captain, right? He is really the chief architect behind all Alex's smart contract. And we have a fantastic developer, team, UI, UX, as well as on the foundation side. I'm sure you heard about Hadan, he speaks a lot on spaces. So today we just had a week and I like to say, you can copy smart contract, you can copy people's art or UI, but you cannot copy people's team. I just think we have one of the best team.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Team is the thing in this space is everything, right? And some people think
Yes,
money is everything, but definitely team, I think, is the most difficult part.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. About to close off, but I just wanted to get a few. We can talk about the exciting stuff that a lot of people on my channel would like. So I am personally super bullish on Alex. I think we will go through a period in the market where the Bitcoin eco is going to pump again. It happened end of last year. So all the work that we put in early in 2023 paid off at the end of the year because we had this BRC20 and Bitcoin ecosystem mania. And I think it's going to come back in a huge way, especially when right now I feel like the Bitcoin ecosystem DeFi is kind of like a gimmick from the outside. But the more liquidity and the more TVLs grow and we see more projects being deployed, I think it will become more validated and even institutions will come in. But the Bitcoin ecosystem, besides just Bitcoin itself, with your previous experience in the traditional finance, what do you think is going to be the price of Bitcoin by the end of this year, considering everything that's going on? And also, what is the talk about Bitcoin behind the scenes with traditional finance guys? What do they think now?
I don't have a crystal ball about predicting price,
Of course.
but one thing is for sure is that you want to pick one global currency, it's going to be Bitcoin, right? If you want to pick one blockchain that is not going to get down, being, not producing a block or being seized by any centralized entity, that's Bitcoin. So if you have these two, it's not even a belief, right? This is fact, this is observations. And I think that's the reason why we are all building on Bitcoin. Yes, those investment builders or projects, startups, they can be formal. You saw it in Denver. People always, I would say a lot of capital in our space, particularly VC money, are basically just momentum type of traders, not really value. Also because I think it's not anybody's fault. It's just, this sector is very, very young, right? It's hard to say, okay, this is my fundamental analysis. That's why this is my value investment. But I do know that one thing is you observe a new sector, you see if it's going to be successful or not, usually by the human capital. And I know the human capital, the most talented young college graduate, they don't want to go to traditional finance or banks, right?
Right.
A lot of them are in our sector around us. So I find that really the best indicator. Look at the human capital, where they go to, what excites them, where do they want to build, right? Where do they want to spend their time and energy to have a career? I think that's a great indicator. So that's number one. And number two is Bitcoin has experienced 7 times, right, up and down. It's not, we know it's not a bubble anymore because the definition of bubble is that it bursts, it never come up. Bitcoin always survive. But we do experience, all of us are facing this very strong regulatory headwind, right? So this is something we all need to navigate, and I hope at least in this year or next year, something will be clearer for our builders in order to build something which is not only useful, tangible, but also it is well regulated. Regulation is not a bad thing. Regulation are there to protect investors and is there to protect the whole economy so it doesn't have systemic risk. Right? Now, I think as a whole, DeFi doesn't have systemic risk. We have seen that, right? FTS, Celsius, all these are centralized exchanges. But we do need to comply, right? The builders here need to comply that we protect the investors like you. You put your capital into Alex, right? How can we be so compliant that you are, it's not a casino, right? There's no bad actors here. That you are really, your capital are well protected. So I think that's the challenges. So that's where I see that we do have headwind, most likely. It's not macro, it's not technology, it's regulatory headwind. But ultimately, we all believe Bitcoin is a chain. We all believe Bitcoin is a monetary layer or system that is the most viable to compete with any fiat system. So with that in mind, you can extrapolate using, technical analysis about Bitcoin prices, whatever. But that train is going up.
Okay, so this will speak a little bit to how you guys as a team are. So you and your co-founder, you know, both women, you founded this company 3 years ago, and now it's valued at over $250 million, right? It's insane, the market cap of your token, with millions of dollars of trading volume every day, 250 million plus of just the market cap. And you have done this in this perceivably smaller area of the economy as compared to where you're coming from traditional finance. Would you advise more women to jump onto the Web3, blockchain, and crypto to build companies? Do you think it's much easier to sort of build bigger companies with software in this ecosystem, or it's much easier to, do you think you would have been able to achieve this in TradFi within 3 years?
First, there are lots of questions packed in what you just asked. Let's start with women and Web3, right? I think this is a perfect sector for women is Web3, right? Think about, you don't need to be a developer, right? You can be community leader, you can be an NFT artist, you can, be, designers, right? If creators, that's a content creator. If you are female content creators, this is a place you should come from because there's no institutional inertia. Right? That's why we all fell in love with NFT, right? Content creator, art creators, right? They can get all their, their whatever the reward is supposed to receive is there. So I think this is number one. Number two, I think very beginning you mentioned, crypto 24/7. I mean, we all need to sleep. We all have babies and we need to cook, right? But I think the beautiful thing about Web3 is that because the community users, builders are always, their market is always open, you can decide when you want to go. You don't need to, in the morning, you rush out of home, feed the kids breakfast before you leave and they are crying and you go to a big office. No, you can work from your kitchen as long as you have Wi-Fi and a computer, right?
Yeah.
You can watch your kids playing soccer while working, which I often do. So I think it offers you much more flexibility without this really the obstacle, being a mom, being a wife, etc. So I think Web3 for women is really beautiful, I want to say. And then second thing you were asking about market cap of Alex. Funny enough, I don't look at it that, this is just how this very small market of this very small set of participants, how they think about what the fair value of Alex governance token is.
Right.
I really don't look at that, but I do look at those matrices. What is most important for me, those matrices that you also mentioned: transaction volume, active wallet, TVL. Also, I think that's much more important for a protocol like us, is that we want to make sure we are useful. We have a very loyal user space community that they find our stuff, at the end useful. Crypto, lots of, mainstream, not just traffic, really mainstream people, they think of us as a casino, and rightly so, because so far, look at the meme coin, right? Lots of people teach me, say meme coin is a social signal, which is great. But then, if you have a mom who need to save to send her kids later to the college, she doesn't want the casino. She want the stable coin that give her some dollar yield, right? So I think both worlds, we need to satisfy them. And then hopefully the technology is so interesting and thriving, innovation is ongoing that we can solve our real world problems.
Amazing. Yeah. I was trying to illustrate the scale of how much you can achieve so let's say the fair value of the token is half of its market cap even. Let's say Alex Lab token the market cap is 100 million even. I mean, in the traditional world, for a startup to achieve anything close to that is extremely difficult, right? Those are numbers for sort of large institutions and so on and so forth. So that is very impressive to say. And lastly, what are your best so far that you have looked at layer 2 blockchains for Bitcoin that you're impressed by? Obviously, Stacks is out there because you are already on Stacks. But what else would you say that, okay, if you're into this kind of stuff, you want to explore, check out this and that? Which ones would you mention?
So I can tell you which L2s that we are currently working with, right? And these are not exclusive, just, our universe collided with those L2s.
Yeah.
Babylon has a very interesting use cases.
Which ones?
Botanics, Babylon, so the one who use Bitcoin as a staking asset, yeah. And also we work with BD and talk a lot with the Botanics team. I don't know if you met them in Denver, really interesting background, interesting team. Bob build on Bitcoin, tech savvy builders. What else? B Square, and obviously ISK has been out there long. I speak to the builders there quite often. So these are fields that we currently are working with, and there are more, and I'm sure there are more coming as well. So my naming them doesn't mean anything. It's just that our universe just collided earlier before Denver.
Right. So if there is a mom or a young woman out there who is like, wow, I like this lady, she's doing amazing work, I want to get involved and do something about this, how can I get involved? Whether it's working with Alex directly or doing something from the outside to contribute to what you're already doing, what can she do? How should she go about it? And what are the type of people are you looking for within the Alex ecosystem to turn it into the go-to decentralized marketplace for DeFi in Bitcoin?
Yeah, our team is expanding, as you are very aware of. We started with a very, very small team, and the core team of 13 people are still, here. So we are very, very lean, and we do need to expand given the activities are, growing exponentially. So we're constantly looking for example, talented social media content creators. We look for people who have a business development experience. And then if you are a developer, you have smart contract experiences, please get in touch with us as well. If you are excited about what we are building, always DM us on Twitter, or shoot us a message, or just come to our Discord. I think all Discord links, Twitter, etc. is on our website, which is alexgo.io. Get in touch with us. Yeah, we would love to hear from you.
Awesome. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for your time. Great interview. Really enjoyed to learn more about Alex. And we'll be watching you guys to see what you're going to do next.
Thank you so much.
I'm your investor, just so that you know.
Oh,
I'm watching
thank you. Don't forget to vote.
Oh yeah, I vote. I do vote for the
Good. Yes.
launch.
We all crying we want Web3. So you need to be a Web3 citizen. You need to vote with your governance token. Yeah.
Absolutely. If you're wondering what voting is talking about, I recommend you take our Web3 masterclass course at Crypto University. It will put you through everything you basically need to know about crypto, blockchain, and within a few weeks, you'll become a master. You'll be using Alex, you'll be voting and providing liquidity and different kind of things. So go to cryptouniversity.network, take your time to learn this stuff, and time is not waiting for you out there. And you never know, you might end up working at Alex one day as well. All right.
That would be awesome.
Amazing. Have a good one. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye.